Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 huge mistakes that most insomniacs are making when they're looking for how to treat insomnia without medication. These are 5 things that most people completely miss, and it's exactly what's keeping them stuck and preventing them from getting any results. So if you struggle with insomnia, there's a good chance that you're probably making all 5 of these. And to be real, I'm not going to waste any of your time in this video talking about basic sleep hygiene or any of the other really common insomnia advice, because I know that most of us have already tried all of that. And if you've tried all of that, you've realized that it doesn't actually solve your whole problem. The reason that any of that really basic advice doesn't work is because it doesn't take into account all of the 5 mistakes that I'm going to be sharing with you today in this video. So if you're ready to finally retake control over your sleep and say goodnight to insomnia once and for all, make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, and also hit the notification bell down below to make sure you get notified every time I upload new videos. Now, before we dive into these, I have to mention that it's absolutely critical that you aren't making any of these 5 mistakes. So make sure to watch this whole video so that you don't miss anything, because the very last thing I mentioned could be that one thing you've been missing this whole time for you to actually make real progress and get more sleep. Mistake number 1 is it was never about insomnia. Insomnia is the symptom, and it isn't actually the reason you can't sleep. What most of us end up doing is we end up focusing so much on insomnia and so much on the problem of not being able to sleep. And when you do that, you get so distracted by insomnia itself, and you end up completely missing the fact that insomnia is just the symptom you're experiencing, and it isn't actually the reason that you have this problem in the first place. And I get it, because I had insomnia for over 12 years, and this is the exact same thing that I was doing. Now, some really common causes of insomnia are things like stress, anxiety, worrying, and even if you just have an overactive mind. So if you're the type of person who thinks a lot in general, then you might also have a hard time turning off your thoughts at night when it's time to fall asleep. Mistake number 2 is only focusing on quick fixes. Quick fixes are a distraction. And so all of these sleep aid products and sleep aid trends and sleep aid companies, they have so many people convinced that their product is what's going to solve your problem, when in reality, none of those things can actually give you permanent results. And so things like sleeping pills and even natural supplements like melatonin, they don't create lasting change in your brain. And on top of that, studies have also shown that long-term use of sleeping pills can actually be more harmful to you than not sleeping. And because these quick fixes don't address what's causing insomnia, when you use them, all this is doing is putting a really ineffective Band-Aid on the problem. And while these things might help you fall asleep temporarily in the short term, they aren't actually going to address the root cause of why you have trouble sleeping. And it's also pretty easy to tell that these quick fixes don't address the root cause of your insomnia, because you either won't be able to fall asleep without them, or even when you do use them, they still don't work. The truth is, there isn't a quick fix to truly heal insomnia without medication, and it is going to require commitment and repetition on your end. But this doesn't mean that it has to take a long time to start seeing results. So make sure you check out my other video, which I'll link up over here, if you want to learn some tips that you can start implementing right away to get you on the right path to falling asleep naturally again. So if we can't rely on these quick fixes, then what can we do? That brings me to the next huge mistake, which is not trying to understand the root cause as to why this sleep problem began to begin with. You have to stop focusing on insomnia and start focusing on figuring out the root cause as to why you have insomnia in the first place. And when you start focusing on the root cause, what this does, it allows you to make the connection between what caused insomnia and why you still have insomnia. Because the way that the brain works is it likes to automate as much as possible. And so your brain likely still believes that whatever was the catalyst for insomnia is still relevant to you today. What most people don't know is that insomnia is trying to help you in some way. Your brain allowed insomnia to develop because it thinks that insomnia is important for your survival. And I know that this sounds pretty backwards, but your brain basically believes that insomnia is more beneficial to you than sleep. However, once you get to the root cause and are able to realize that what caused insomnia has nothing to do with your life anymore, this can really help you start to move past it. Your brain already knows how to fall asleep. And so there had to have been some point in your life where your brain decided that not sleeping was more beneficial to you than sleeping. So what I recommend is to consciously start reminding yourself at night that your brain is simply trying to protect you based on something that it learned in the past, and that thing in the past doesn't have to continue to prevent you from sleeping any longer. Since I've started talking about the brain, that leads me to the next huge mistake that people make when trying to treat insomnia without medication, and that is not approaching insomnia as a habit. Yes, I know this sounds weird, but insomnia is actually a habitual behavior that your brain is carrying out each and every night automatically. 95% of what we do every day is habituated by the brain. 95%. And so anything that you do every day automatically is a habit, like brushing your teeth, driving the same route to work. Even your thought patterns and the types of things that you think about are very similar on a day-to-day basis. And so since insomnia is happening every night, automatically on autopilot, there's your evidence that insomnia is also a habit, and it's simply the default program that your brain has decided to keep running over and over again. But just like any other habit, you have the power to break that cycle. So it's really important to start approaching insomnia as a habit and to start recognizing that it's just your brain doing this automatically and that there's actually nothing wrong with you. So the first step to really getting rid of insomnia is to start recognizing this, and also to start talking directly to your brain at night if you're thinking too much or if you just can't fall asleep, and just say to your brain, hey brain, I don't want to think about this right now, just chill out and let me sleep. And you'd be surprised at how powerful just this one simple action can be, because when you speak directly to your brain, you're actually interrupting that habitual thought pattern that was occurring automatically. And when you interrupt that pattern, your brain will notice that you're not just letting it do its normal thing anymore. And when you do that enough, your brain will realize, okay, I guess insomnia isn't important, and you'll be able to start falling asleep much easier. That leads me right into the next monumental mistake, and this one I would even say is a fatal flaw, and that is calling yourself an insomniac. So stop saying you have insomnia, stop identifying as an insomniac, because when you do that, all you're doing is perpetuating that idea in your mind, and your brain is listening. The language that we use often becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So by reinforcing the belief that you can't sleep, that sleeping is hard, that it takes a long time to fall asleep, and just worrying about getting enough sleep, all that does is guarantee that you're not going to get enough sleep and that you're not going to feel good getting up in the morning. So what you need to do instead is basically start pretending that you don't have any trouble sleeping and start repeating things to yourself like, I'm the world's best natural sleeper. I always fall asleep easily. I always get more than enough sleep. And I realize that in the beginning, you won't actually believe this, but the more that you reinforce this idea and the more that you repeat these things to yourself that are the outcome that you actually want to experience, the more that you will start to believe that it is true for you. Go ahead and leave me a comment on this video right now if you are going to commit to no longer calling yourself an insomniac. Even better, actually leave me a comment declaring that you are the world's best natural sleeper. Yes, literally type in the comments, I am the world's best natural sleeper, because what this does is it affirms to yourself and to the world that you are indeed capable of sleeping normally again. Because you are. That's the way I want you to start training your brain to think. So do your best not to worry about sleep. Don't worry about insomnia. Your brain already knows how to fall asleep, and all you need to do is start reminding your brain of what it already knows how to do. If you want to learn more about how to get rid of insomnia without any medication, check out my other videos over here. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, click subscribe, and also hit the bell down below for notifications so that you're the first notified every time I upload a new video. Remember, you can overcome insomnia. I believe in you, and I'll see you in the next one.